All right, cool. We're live.
Hell yeah.
So, Shaker Hymns. I Googled, I was just going to like Google your name, and a lot of stuff came up, and I love the band name, but there was a lot, like the Shaker Hymns. Why did you choose that as the name?
It's kind of a long story that I just sum up as when we first started. The only thing we really wanted to do was be a working band, and we still kind of have those feelings. Just play as much as possible, work as hard as we could at everything that we were doing. So there's a song by the Turnpike Troubadours called Morgan Street, and the chorus in there is the movers and shakers on Morgan Street. And in that movers and shakers thing, I got kind of enamored by that. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And so I looked more into that. Movers and shakers are pretty much just hustlers. You know, I'm sure you're familiar with what they are. But we decided to call ourselves Shaker Hymns, like we're the hymn of the working man, pretty much, like the song of the working man. And all of our music and all the stuff we do is kind of based around that, about being hard workers.
That's cool. And how would you, do you like put yourself in a genre? Because I remember watching your videos and you were playing like an acoustic, singing like real soft songs, and then I remember bringing up the album art and with the girl with the bloody nose, and I was like, oh, what we got here? And then it was just like rock, like real hard sound.
We get that question a lot, and we've been trying to figure it out ourselves for a really long time. Not because we want to put ourselves in any genre. I wouldn't say we're against that, but for marketability, we've always had a real hard time marketing ourselves because we kind of just do everything. At the base of it, we just call ourselves roots music. Everything we do is kind of based in the blues, country. We'll branch off into like soul and funk, R&B, and all that kind of stuff. But everything really stems from that like traditional roots style of music. That's what we strive for at the root of it. No pun intended. We all love songwriting and organic sounds. You know, kids down in guitars, drums, and bands that play together. And so we try to make it work that way. It's roots music is what I'd call it.
That's cool. And it's nice when you can just do whatever the hell you want. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Instead of like putting yourself in a box, which I found like a lot of the bands I used to, like I'm seeing now, I've seen like guys like you do a whole bunch of different diverse things, and then I go back to my favorite bands, and it's weird. Like there's no diversity at all. It's just like stay down that line, and you know, like you're never gonna see an acoustic show of like Slayer or
yeah,
know, like,
and we got told real early on too. You know, kind of pick a direction. You know, people would always say that. You know, at some point you're gonna have to choose whether you want to be more country or you want to be more rock or you want to be more soul or whatever it is. And I wish we could say that we even thought about it, but we never did. We've always just been kind of like, well, we don't want to choose. We love playing an old Merle Haggard song and then right after that kicking into like Mr. Brownstone or something. Like that's our favorite thing to do. We try to stay all over the spectrum, and we've been a touring band now for about 8 years, and doing that, we played so many different types of venues and different types of shows that you kind of learn the soft or slower songs are a lot of fun, and they can be real fun to write, and they go really well around campfires. But if you get into a rowdy bar where everyone wants to, you know, kind of cut loose and drink a bunch of tequila, you need to have, you know, a few Skinnerd covers up your pocket, and if not that, then you need to have like high energy music. So we've always drawn from a bunch of different influences, but when it came to like, you know, pick a lane or whatever, we decided we never wanted to do that. It wouldn't have suited us anyways. We never really got into it to make a bunch of money. Money would be nice, you know, pay the bills and all that. But we started playing together when we were kids. I say kids, we were like 19 or 20. But all we wanted to do was play music that we liked, and so we started that way, and we've kept pretty honest to it thus far.
That's cool because there's nothing worse than playing music you hate.
Yeah, I've done that too. I've done that for a few paychecks. It's not fun.
Yeah, yeah. So did I. I was playing like bro country because people pay. They want to
Yeah, they
come
do.
out. And they want to slam their drinks and slam their boots and sing the same song. It's like I was like playing that. You're just moving the capo. It's almost like all the same leads. It's just it was terrible.
I know exactly. I grew up in that era. I was in high school and graduating high school. I graduated high school in 2012. So like when I was in high school, it was like the beginning of the Jason Aldean Florida Georgia line thing, and then right out of high school, that was kind of the peak of it. So I know all about what you're talking about. All those songs are similar, and I don't even hate on those songs myself. I don't listen to them personally. I'm sure I've heard them in bars and stuff, and if it does something for someone else, I mean that's cool. You know, everyone get in where you fit in. It's never been my taste. The same way a lot of the songs I write aren't some people's taste. That's totally fine. I think the coolest part about it is being able to have those conversations with people that don't like my music or I don't like their music, and then talking to them about what they like or what they don't like, and then kind of peeling back the curtain a little bit. That's what makes it really fun, because music is such a wide variety of things, and there's so much that goes into it and what people like. So I always think it's cool to kind of find out those things about other people.
Yeah, and it's funny like how you know what you wrote the song about, and I bet you could find someone to argue with about it. I always found that, nah, man, it's about that, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
like I kind of know.
Yeah, I think that's cool, man. I have a lot of our entire first full length album was a breakup album, and like I sing those songs, and I know exactly, obviously, what every single line is about, whether it's about me or if I pulled inspiration from somewhere else. I know every line and what it means, and I'll have people come up and be like, "Oh, well, dude, this song meant so much to me because I liked how you said this about that, and I mean, I related directly to that." And in my mind, I'm like, "Well, that's not what it meant, but that's cool as shit." I'll never tell anyone that. I think that's cool as shit because, you know, for them, taking something that I just came up with in my bedroom and relaying it to their life is like the coolest thing in the world. I love it.
Yeah, it's crazy to have that kind of influence when you think about
Yeah.
it.
It is, and we have zero celebrity status at all. We're not like superstars or anything like that. But getting to talk to people that the music has moved them in any kind of way, it's refreshing. But it also it puts like a good kind of pressure on you to keep delivering songs in that vein, and to be honest, to continue to be honest, to continue to do things the way that we've always wanted to. Because when people resonate with it, we understand that they're resonating with it because of how genuine it is, not because of any agenda or anything like that we've had before.
Do you have like a main like inspiration for writing, or
Yeah,
like
I have a few. I have a few. When I started as a guitar player, I started playing guitar when I was 9, and I did that all throughout school, but I never pursued it. I had no idea that you could make a living playing music growing up. I was an athlete. I thought I was going to go to school to be, I wanted to be like a high school football coach whenever I was younger. And I kind of still do, actually. That would be a lot of fun. But I had no aspirations to be a musician. And I went to go watch a Whiskey Myers show in San Antonio, and Whiskey Myers is a really large band now. Like they've had a lot of success on Yellowstone and a lot of success everywhere. But at that time that I went and saw them, it was probably 60 people in the venue, maybe. I don't know, that might even be pushing it. But I went and watched them, and I was like, man, this is so cool. I love what they're doing. I could see myself doing something like this. And immediately started pursuing like a band after that. I wanted to be in a band, and I wanted to be a guitar player. So I started a band with some guys that I went to high school with, and we played, a few shows or whatever, and we couldn't find a singer. So I had no aspirations to be a singer. I just wanted to be a guitar player. And we couldn't find anyone, and they were like, well, you're good enough, so you should just sing. So I did, and then when I started singing, I was like, well, this is actually kind of fun too. And that led me into a whole world of like Texas country, Americana, Southern rock, all that stuff, which introduced me to Jason Isbell. Jason Isbell has been my biggest influence, I think, for writing. I was and am a huge Jason Isbell fan, and that was like what made me want to start writing songs. He had this song called Elephant, which was off of his album Southeastern, and I remember the first time hearing that song, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to write a song like this. And then that kind of led me into a bunch of different avenues, but the two biggest ones are Jason Isbell and Merle Haggard. Once I found Merle Haggard, I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. I want to have a catalog and a career that spans so much time, adapts to the times. Like Merle Haggard wasn't out releasing EDM or anything like that, but his albums got progressively better, and he was always writing and having commentary on things that were relevant to the time. So if you start listening to his albums with like the Okie and Muskogee, Okie from Muskogee song, which is a hilarious story because that's almost like a tongue-in-cheek humor thing. That's what was really serious back then. But if you fast forward to him having a song with Willie Nelson called "It's All Going to Pot," you can see that there's just a huge difference in the stigma around the substance, and that's kind of like a commentary on times changing. But all of his songs did that, and I always wanted to do that. I just wanted to have a career and a catalog that went over time, and you could see the growth of a band or the growth of an artist or whatever it may have been. And yeah, like I said, those would be my two biggest influences, Merle and Jason Isbell.
That's cool. And like, I get what you're saying, and I totally agree. But it always blows my mind that some of your like diehard fans would like hate you for that.
Oh
yeah,
like, for sure, man.
It's so weird how they're like, "Oh, we love you, and then you'll put something out that's just a tad different, and they're just like, "Oh, you're a sellout. I can't believe you did this to me."
And
why?
That comes with the territory. I think the industry itself, you have to be really thick-skinned to last in it. There's a lot of people that start in it and may have all the talent in the world, but don't do anything because they just don't have the skin for it. You got to be thick-skinned to begin with. So if you get to a point where people liked you at one point and then they don't, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's just it's a sign of change, and you can't grow if you don't change. So, you gotta take it. Get in where you fit in, I guess.
It's true. You definitely need, just it. At times, like I find myself like reading comments, and I'm like, and stuff like that, and
That'll
you just
kill
kind of
you.
have to ignore it. But some days, like when you're just tired and just you try to make everybody happy, and then you go and it's like,
oh man,
nope.
I gave up on that. I gave up on that when we were younger. We tried to, make I tried to make our band happy, and I tried to make the venues happy, and I tried to make every single drunk guy at the bar happy. And then you realize at some point one of them's going to be pissed off, so you might as well just do your best. Don't say anything bad to anybody. Get in the van and go home. That's about all you can do. Keep writing songs.
That's funny. So, if you could collaborate with anybody, do you have like an artist that you're like make a wish
Yeah, yeah.
collaboration?
I mean, if it was still possible, it would have been Merle Haggard. That's like my number one. I would have loved to have collaborated with him, or even just hung out with him. He seems like a super cheesy way, but I think he's just a cool dude. But other than that, I'm still a really big Jason Isbell fan. I think that'd be cool. I'm a huge rock and roll fan as well. I would love to do something with the Black Crowes or one of their members, either Rich or Chris. Chris is like a phenomenal vocalist. I'm sorry, Chris is the vocalist. I'm sorry, Rich is a phenomenal guitar player, and I know he's written some songs with Whiskey Myers that I really like, but that or the Rolling Stones, which is like everyone says that, but I have this buddy named JT, and he's a huge Stones fan, like probably the biggest Stones fan in the world. And I grew up listening to a lot of like Guns N' Roses and some Metallica stuff, but my parents were more into that kind of rock, and I was a big Skynyrd fan, but I had never really gotten into the Rolling Stones. My buddy JT showed me the Stones, and he showed me the album Sticky Fingers. I think that was the first one he told me to listen to, and I listened to that album front to back almost once a week now. I love it. It's one of my favorites. But the reason I didn't like the Stones at first, or maybe not that I didn't like them, but I didn't understand it. It was the same reason that I didn't understand Led Zeppelin the first time I heard it, and it was because there's so much attitude to it. And the way I grew up listening to music, a lot of it was coming through the pop pipeline, whether it was considered pop music or not. It was popular music. So like Guns N' Roses, there was a lot of attitude there, but the playing was so on all the time that I just thought all players were like that. And then I went and started finding like Led Zeppelin records and Stones records where you can tell that they're not all together all the time. Like there's mistakes and there's like this weird rough around the edges thing, but that was such a cool part of it. And so going back to the Stones thing, they've just had such an attitude for such a long time while still like remaining somewhat poised. I don't know how to explain it. That's rock and roll is like just chaos, but there's so much chaos and there's so much going on, but it's still so poised. And like some of the best country songs too. Like they have songs like Honky Tonk Women, which was originally Country Honk, is just a great country song. And then they have Dead Flowers, which might be one of the best country songs of all time. And people don't talk about it in the country vein because it's a Rolling Stones song. But yeah, that's my rant on the Stones and the influence and who I'd like to work with. But it would be either someone from the Black Crowes or the Stones, probably Keith Richards.
That's cool. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I never got into the Rolling Stones, and it's funny is I'm a huge Hunter S. Thompson fan, and my buddy at work assumed that I loved the Rolling Stones because of it, and he had me like reading books about the Rolling Stones, and I didn't know any of the music. I don't know. I just never got into them.
Yeah. I mean, I get it.
Huge respect for them, but just
I think they caught me at a time that when I really started getting into it was when we started hitting the road hard as like a van and trailer kind of band. There's so much angst and I don't know, it just feels so real. Like listening to those songs, that I think that's when it really struck me. Also, backtracking, another artist that I forgot to mention through the Eagles pipeline would be Vince Gill. That would be a huge dream come true to collaborate. I'm a guitar player at heart, and I love chicken picking music, but also just a sucker for a good melody, and Vince Gill does all of that. So those would be my ones. Stones, Black Crowes, or Vince Gill.
All pretty solid answers.
Yeah.
What's your favorite guitar brand? Do you have one or?
I do. As far as electrics, I'm gonna have to go with Fender just because it's reliable. I've had a bunch of Gibsons. I played some PRSs and I love them, but they're weirdly enough they feel like a spaceship to me. I don't know how to explain it. There's so much going on with a PRS that I can't wrap my head all around all of it. But I played a Mexican telly for the longest time. I have a Sunburst Mexican telly, and that's what I play live. And there's something about that big chunk of wood, and that's all it is, that really gets me going. And it stays in tune. I've had so many Gibsons, and that neck never works. It's always falling out of tune. The G string is damn near impossible. You might as well cut it off. So I'd have to say Fender. I'd have to say Fender for sure. When it comes to acoustics, I play an Orangewood live, which they're a brand that I found on somewhere on social media. I don't even know exactly where, but they're rather affordable, and I got one to take on the road and kind of beat up, and it's become one of my favorite live guitars I've ever played. They have great pickups. They're set up really well when you get them, and it kind of sounds great when you plug it in, which a lot of acoustic guitars don't sound really good when you plug them in. So those for playing live, it'd be Orangewood. But when it comes to like best built guitars, I think bar none, the Gibson J45 and like a Martin D28, D18, if you can afford them. Those are about as good as you can get. But then again, we do so many different styles. It's hard for me. I can get away with two electrics. I can play a single coil and a humbucker and make both of those work in a lot of different avenues that I wanted to. But with acoustics, there's so many different styles that we do to where, like, if we're doing some of our countryer stuff, I want to have a Gibson J45 because I just want that real clean, shimmery sound for strumming. But if we're doing something where I'm kind of like picking a little bit more, you got to have like a Martin box and get that bluegrass style, like that boomier bluegrass style. Sorry, I'm going on a rant about guitars, but like I said, I'm a guitar player at heart, so that's some of my favorite things to talk about. But
yeah, same here.
The short answer would be Fender. Fender's my favorite guitar brand, I think.
Yeah, they definitely got it. It's funny is I hated on Telecasters, and I used to give people so much crap over them, and like I finally got one, and now I have 3 of them, and yeah, I love them.
They're great, man, and you can play a lot of. I don't know what your background is with like playing, but I know a lot of heavier musicians kind of rag on tellies because they're like, "Oh man, you can't play metal on a telly." And I've seen people do it, and it kills. Like if you dial in that tone, you can play metal on a telly for sure, and it sounds sick.
Yeah. A lot of people do, like John 5.
Yeah,
and dude, it snowed here. I was supposed to go to see his show, and I didn't make it because I went on like Facebook, and people were like crashing their cars where the venue was. So I was like, I'm not going. But that guitar, the Ghost, he calls it. I love that thing, and I always like. But like, I remember my buddy coming out with the telly, and I'm like, nah, dude, don't go on stage with that.
Yeah, dude, put a cowboy hat on and go to the bar next door. Like, what are you doing, man? That's hilarious.
and then I start looking at like the resistance on the pickups and everything. I'm like, wow, these things are actually pretty hot. And then I ended up buying a couple of them. I actually, my like guitar, like I want really, really bad right now is that Brent Mason telly with the B bender, so I can get all.
I want to get a bender myself. And it's funny you say that about tellies too, and how you have a few of them. I've seen like some of the live stuff. You'll do the live streaming, and I think I've only seen you playing a telly when you do it, which is funny. It's cool, but it sounds great. Yeah,
it's so weird. Like my buddy came over and he's like, "What?" He goes, "What has happened to you?" I'm like, I guess it kind of like opened my mind up because like looking at my playlist and what I'm listening to, and I was like, man, I really haven't. it's just when everything started sounding the same is when I just went, I'm gonna just listen to what I like. But
Yeah.
that's the same too. And like,
Yeah.
what is weird is like I always like I do like I love to read. I'm not like a big like fiction fan. I love like biographies and poetry, and I've always liked stories like that. And I just never heard like good country. And then I just remember listening to like the Texas country because people are like, I was like, what is this? Is like experimental. This is,
Yeah.
and
And it's
then
all
like,
based in storytelling. That's the coolest part of the, I guess what you would call the Texas scene and the branch around it is it's all based in storytelling. A lot of it comes from I'm sitting here talking about being on this writers retreat. Last night I was hanging out with we're on some of our friends' land and they've had this land forever and we're just sitting there and they're trading stories. I feel like the culture is it's so rooted in tall tales, like things that they start out as this normal thing this story you would tell your buddy just in passing, and then 3 years later you hear the same story and the fish went from being this big to being super big. It's all based in storytelling, but that's the coolest part of the style, I think, and that's what really drew me to the country thing. Being a guitar player, I think I always resonated with the musicality of it, but I always felt like those guitar players themselves were telling a story, even without words. Like some of my favorite guitar players, you listen to their solos, and you can feel every emotion for whatever that song, whether it's like a ballad like November Rain, like you can feel every emotion in Slash's guitar playing, or if it's something like Panama, like it's a fun song, whatever it may be, the guitar player is like telling the same story that the singer is. And the way that translates into country is that you take it and everything is based off the lyrics, and those lyrics drive a lot more of the choices that the musicians make, I think, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining it the right way, but yeah, the
yeah,
storytelling is the coolest part.
what I really loved, and like, I hate to say like Nashville country, but it's the stuff I heard. You can hear the voice clear as day, but you have to like struggle to hear the instruments underneath. And if you actually like listen to some of these songs, there's some cool guitar parts going on, but you really have to like strain your ear. And then like I found like the Texas country red dirt, and it's all like it's layered, but it's you just whatever you want to like listen to, it's just so much easier. Like if you want to listen to the lyrics are right there. And if you want to listen to like what the guitar and everything's doing, because like, I mean, what's funny is like I used to hate pedal steel. Like I would leave if someone
Me
was
too.
setting up a pedal steel. I would leave. I'd be like, nope, because it always sounded like Cats on Fire. They always put too much reverb, and it's just like, how can you drown out cymbals? Those frequencies are so high and so vast, and you hear. I'm like, oh. But now, like Zach from Silverado, that dude. Like I say, it's like stars falling out of the sky with those just that shimmery, just slides and the picking runs up and down, and I love it. I've seen American Aquarium and just standing right in his line and how he was working his pedals and just adding to the song, and just he was like, it's like singing with his hands, and I was like, whoa, that's how that's done. And it opened up like an entirely different, because as a guitar player who loves like Delta blues and slide, you would think I love it, but no, I did not, because when every song it was kind of like Band in the Box. So, and here comes the Cats on Fire, just for no reason, just.
Man, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was not a fan of steel guitar as a younger guy either, and it took like our band, some members of our band got really into it, but it also took me finding good steel guitar players to like really, really appreciate it. And I think as a younger musician, I was so enamored by rock and roll, and I still love rock and roll a lot. I don't think I ever won't, But I was so caught up by that I was way more interested in how hard something hit or how powerful it felt. But the older that I get, the more I realize that like melodies and the way a band plays together and the way musicians play with each other is way more important and kind of hits harder than any drum, or whatever, or any breakdown or whatever you can do. And so with steel players, I started finding that the good ones, they know exactly where to fit in, and they know exactly how to play what's like important for this song or important to hear. When you start getting around those kind of guys, it makes a huge, huge difference on your outlook of the instrument.
Yeah, it's definitely 100%. It's so like just telling people. I remember talking to the girlfriend of a steel guitar player at Silverado. She goes, "What? How could you hate that?" I was like, "Well, I was in the metal, man. He's like, whose favorite band, Slayer?" And I'm like, said,
Silverado is one of our favorite bands. We played a couple shows with them, but whenever they released that Cheap Silver album, you could not get away from that in our van. We played it front to back nonstop for probably a year. Like just couldn't get away. Everyone, it would be funny because it wouldn't stop playing. So we'd be driving to the gigs sober or hungover or whatever, and no one would really say anything. And then we'd go sound check, and we'd go back to the van and have some beers, and everyone kind of hear a song again and be like, "Oh yeah," sing along to it. By the time we loaded up, got back into the van to go to the next place or whatever, everyone's just screaming at the top of their lungs the same songs we'd already heard 3 or 4 times that day. But yeah, Silverado, they're such a phenomenal live band. They're them and Shane Smith and the Saints, I think, are 2 of the best, if not the best, live acts that are playing right now.
Oh yeah, they're they're so good. It's funny. Like I went to Mile Zero, and I was all excited. Mike and the guys are up there, getting ready to play the amp, and I was standing in front of a guy standing in front of me, ashed his cigarette over his shoulder. The ashes went in my mouth, and I got sick. I had to run outside and throw up, and it was terrible. I missed their show. I was like, no. And I went to Highway 30 down in Texas, and I got to see him like front and center on the rail. And then I went backstage, and I was telling Mike the story. He goes, "What? That sounds terrible."
That's hilarious.
Like, yeah. He's like, "I've never heard that." I was like, "Yeah, that's I was like, I can't even tell you the story without like having my tongue tingle. It was disgusting."
That's such a testament to their band too. Like the reason we like them so much, I think, is because it's kind of like a kindred spirit thing. Like we've always loved their music, and then when we got to be around them, and we're not best friends or anything. They might not even know who we are. We played with them before, but it's one of those things where like you hang around people that are kind of like minded, or and you start to be like, oh, this is why we like their music, because we like them. I mean, I remember one time running into Mike at a bar in Fort Worth. It was at the old Magnolia Motor Lounge. I don't know if you're familiar with that area in Fort Worth, Texas, but there was this bar called Magnolia Motor Lounge that was on 7th Street, which is kind of the drinking district. There's the Stockyards, which is the cowboy area, and there's 7th Street, which is like the bars, or the club, bars and clubs. Magnolia Motor Lounge was on 7th Street. They recently relocated, but right before they did, we went up there. We were playing in Oklahoma, I think, the next day, so we stopped in Fort Worth for the night just to cut the drive in half and have some beers, and we went out, and I ran into Mike, and I was like, "Hey, what's up, man? Like, I don't know if you remember me. We played with y'all in Austin a couple months ago." And he was like, "Yeah, dude, we love y'all's stuff." Whatever. Like I said, could be true, could not. I don't know. It was cool to me. I was like, "That's badass." But then he's like, "Let me buy you a shot." And I was like, "Cool." So we walked inside, and we took 2 or 3 tequilas within 10 or 15 minutes. I don't know. It was pretty quick. But then right after that, he was like, "Well, it's good running into you." Then he walked away, and I walked away, and I was just like, man, that's the coolest thing in the world, because those guys, well, one, he doesn't have to talk to us or talk to me or anyone, like they paved their own way and done so well. But I think the scene is built so much around community. Everyone knows that the younger guys are going through what they went through, and the older guys are the ones that you look up to. And there's a lot of respect that goes both ways. But going back to that being a testament of their band, we took those shots back to back, and he went off like nobody's business, and I walked off like nobody's business. And I was like, that's why we get along, because we're bar bands. Obviously, they're way bigger than a bar band now. Like they're crushing it and doing great. But at the root of it, from what I understand, I could be wrong, but I think they had kind of a similar upbringing to us. Like they hit the bars, the dive bar circuit for a long time and really paid their dues. And I think that's important. Some people don't need to, but I think most people do. Definitely pay more dues than are being paid nowadays.
Yeah. For a while there, if you wanted to have a career, it seemed like you had to win some contest.
Yeah.
And and when they would win and their album would do terrible, then you would see all the collabs with famous people. And it's just like, it was getting frustrating because, like, for me, I'm like, maybe they're not good. You know, like, yeah, they're singing with all these famous people. Like, there's people out there that are doing the grind, that have the talent, and it's just the spotlight. It's just going back and forth, and it's just hasn't locked in on them yet. Because I always say, like, talent will sell. Like when people give me something, they're like, this recording's terrible. I'm like, dude, the stuff I used to listen to, like Metallica Garage Days, is terrible. The first Metallica, that's a terrible recording, but the talent is there.
What is that Metallica album? We were talking about this in the van the other day. I think it's Injustice for All, where Lars, like, he requested like this very specific way of mixing it, and he was like, I want it to sound like this, blah blah blah. And so the engineer, as a joke, sent him this mix, and he just pulled the bass like almost all the way out. And he did it like as a funny, haha, this is what you wanted. And Lars was like, it's great, I love it. And so they ended up releasing it that way, and it sounds awful. It sounds so bad. But there's like I don't know. There's a shine is not the right word, because there's nothing shiny about that album. But there's like an endearing quality to it, because it sounds so bad, but the talent is there. Like what you're saying, like the songs are there.
Yeah.
You can tell that band worked their ass off to sound that good, like that tight together and all that. I don't know if it's And Justice for All. I forget the name of the album, but there's one of those albums.
It's Injustice for All.
It is? Yeah. It's so funny, man. And like we'll sit there in the van and just talk a lot of crap about that. And then the next thing I'll do is put on one of those songs, and all of us are just headbanging, you know. It's so much fun. And that's also, it's just so cool to see bands like that do that, you know, that they have talent, or they don't have talent, whatever, but they work on it, and they go into a studio and they say, well, this is how we want it, and they're unapologetic about it. I don't think you could ask for anything more than that.
Yeah. What I love about that album is none of the songs are less than like 8 minutes. And then in car rides, when we could pick a song, I'd put one of them on. Like,
yeah.
And then just like,
is Orion on that album?
That's on Master of Puppets.
Okay,
that's a long good one.
That's a long one. So we there's this bar that we go to. We all live in and around San Marcos, Texas, and there's this bar called Chances Are. We just recently recorded 3 like acoustic videos there with some of our songs from our recent album, but that's like our mainstay. They all know us by name, and it's great. It's a dive bar. But one night we were in there, and there was like all of our band and maybe 2 other people were in this bar, and we're just sitting in the bar, you know, drinking Miller High Lifes and tequila shots, as many as they'll give us. And someone put the jukebox on, and they put on Orion, and we were like, damn, this is like a deep Metallica cut. This is cool, whatever. And so the song's like, I don't know how long, 15 minutes or something. It's a long song. And so the whole thing plays, and we're like, or it gets towards the end, and we're like, I wonder what's going to be up next. And it was Orion again. And someone, I don't know who, someone had gotten control of the jukebox and played Orion 8 or 9 times to where it was just nonstop. We were like, what are
I
they
love that
doing?
guy.
But that was the first time I had ever heard that song. By the second or third time, I was like, what is this? And our drummer, he's a huge Metallica fan, like washed in the blood Metallica. And he was like, oh, this is Orion. And yeah, I always think of that when I think of those long Metallica songs.
That's funny. I am that guy. I'll play like Tiny Tim tiptoe through
Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
the
Yeah.
like 90 times.
I love
And, like,
that, man.
You can do it remotely now. My
Yeah.
sister's
Yeah.
boyfriend owns a bar with one of those jukeboxes, and my name's DJ Request. And there's a Dream Theater song that's 45 minutes long. And
Which
yeah.
one is it? I'm gonna put it on next time I go to the bar.
I forget what it's called, but it's
I'll look
40
it up.
it's 45 minutes long, and you get your money's worth.
Man, we have this tactic. I don't know if I should say it on recording because it might give it away. But what we'll do is like we'll go into town, and we learned. We didn't make this up. We did not pioneer this tactic. I learned it from my buddy. His name is Austin Salazar. He's a tour manager for an artist named William Clark Green, and they kind of taught us everything we know about being on the road. They showed us the ropes a lot. But what we'll do is we'll try to, anytime we go into town, to a new town or whatever, we'll try to find the dirtiest dive bar that we can. It's just what we like doing. So we'll find the dirtiest dive bar that we can find, and about 15, 20 minutes before we show up, we'll get on the app for the jukebox and just put on like the slowest either country music or like Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba, and we'll play it like 6 or 7 times to try to clear the bar out. So that way by the time we show up, there's no one in there, and we're just in this rat hole bar. And then we start putting on like our own music, but you got to save the heaters for later. So I'm gonna look up that Dream Theater song, so that way next time we're in a random town, I can put it on and be like, hey, the bar's gonna be cleared out in 45 minutes, and we can just go show up.
That and Meshuggah bleed. People don't like that. It's kind of the same thing. And I remember reading or watching an interview of them, and they say it's repetitious because repetition causes anger. And I thought that was interesting. They went for that to make you mad by playing the same thing over and over in the same song.
That's so true. As a songwriter, and I do a little bit of producing, not a whole lot, but as a songwriter, you're always trying to find out, how do I make this verse or this chorus or this bridge a little different from the first to keep people interested, keep them intrigued. But repetition is one of those things that you like, especially if you're expecting it. You're expecting it to change. So a lot of people that listen to songs are expecting something new. And so when you're listening to it and it doesn't change, but it keeps repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating, it can drive you crazy. But, man, I'm glad you said Meshuggah. Our guitar player loves them. And we were in the van one day, and we were all trying to show the heaviest song that we knew. And I think I put on like Critical Acclaim by Avenged Sevenfold or something. I was like, oh man, this one will get y'all. And then, our drummer put on some Metallica song or something, and then he was like, no, check out this Meshuggah song. And we were like, yeah, I don't know if it gets heavier than that.
Yeah, dude, they playing those polyrhythms, and my brain, I can't. I can do it, but I have to I have to be like in the zone, and I've seen them.
Whirlwind.
It's nuts. It just.
Do you like Polyphia?
Polyphia? I've heard a couple of their songs. I love that guy's his clean tone.
He's got Tim Robinson. Is that his name?
I don't know. He's got like the neck tattoo. That guy.
Yeah. I forget his name. I think it's Tim Robinson, but I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong.
They did a song with Steve Vai. That's good. I forget what it is, but Periphery, they do the same. They have 3 guitar players that are all good. And
Yeah.
That whole playing in 6/8 and 7/9 and
I'm not super in that world, but our guitar player is, so I rely on him. His name's Hunter Howell, and I rely on him to show me all that stuff because I'll bring like the coolest new deep cut Hank Williams song I can find, and then he'll be like, "Oh, well, dude, have you heard this?" And then he'll show me one of those songs, and we'll both just be sitting there geeked out, like, "Oh man, this is the coolest shit in the world!" And then we'll go play a show in a bar for 3 people, and be like, "What are we doing wrong?" You know?
that's crazy. Like right before, I forget what song I just listened to of yours. It's oh my god, I should know it, but it sounds great. It's got like strings and everything's put in, and it's just like I go on like the TikTok thing, and it'll say 0 videos, and it's just it's funny when like I get like upset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, man, because I know what it's like to put. It was a duet. There was also a female singer on it as well.
Might
I
have been
wanna
Not
say
Alone.
Not Alone.
Yeah.
And I just was like, it's a beautiful song, and like I get like emotionally attached, probably because like I know it's better than a lot of the stuff out, and it's like organic. You know what I mean? It's just so many parts I know went into it, and I know what it's like to go in the studio, put something out, and be like, this is gold. This is gonna, take a life on its own, and just how could this not do anything? And I get it's funny is people are like, well, what do you care? I'm like right now, like you guys are good people, like the whole scene, you know what I mean? And it's just like
Yeah.
it gets frustrating, and I know you have to get frustrated when you put stuff like that out. And then I know people were doing interviews with you, and it's just, and it's a cool name, it's an easy name to remember.
Yeah, man.
And it's just like,
Thank
do you
you.
just ever just get frustrated with just like how do you? Because I know how
What
like
do-
I get, and I'm just
Yeah.
the listener.
When we were younger, or when I was younger, definitely I get a lot more frustrated about it. I used to do the comparing thing, like why are they doing better than I am? And it wasn't ever from like a hate standpoint. I was never like, oh, well, they suck. Why are they doing better? It was never that. It was always coming from a place of like, I feel like these are my peers, and we're doing, or I'm trying my best to put out something of quality that matches this. Why is it not working? So when I was younger, it was definitely that. But then it got to a point to where I have the girl actually. It's funny how this segues. The girl that sang on that Not Alone song, her name is Juliet McConkey. She's a phenomenal singer-songwriter from Virginia, and we met in San Marcos. Through her, I got to meet her boyfriend now. His name is James Steinley. He's a great songwriter as well. And I was having a conversation with him one time, and we were talking about songwriting and how hard it is to make any kind of living or make any kind of money or all of that, and still stay true to your art and what you want to do. And he kind of put it in the best way I can think about it, and to this day I still think about it. He was like, I could be in jail doing a life sentence, and no one would ever be able to take songwriting away from me. I would still be able to write songs. Like I could write them in my head, or scratch them on a wall, or write them on paper, whatever it may be. No one can ever take that away from you. And then once the song is created, no one can take that away from you. And the reason that resonated with me so much is I had always had day jobs. I had always tried to live. I grew up in a pretty traditional household. Like, obviously, my family had their share of problems, the way most families do. But there was nothing like super, super out of the ordinary about my life. And I always tried to like teeter-totter and walk that line of being a normal, upstanding citizen, a member of society, if you will. And That's not to say I'm out there, being a bad person or anything now, but being in the music industry or songwriter or whatever, chasing that dream is just way out of the norm. Like, there's no textbook. You can't go to college for that. You have to hit, as cheesy as it is to say it, like the school of hard knocks. You got to get out there, get on the road, be on the streets, be in the thick of it with everyone else that's doing it to learn those things. And James telling me that kind of put it into perspective for me, that whether I have a job, whether I don't have a job, whether I am rich or whether I'm broke, whatever it may be, at the root of it, I'm a songwriter and I'm a musician, and that is just what I do. It's a part of who I am. It's not like, it doesn't define me, but it's so much a part of me that that's just what I do. I wake up in the morning and I eat bacon and eggs and I write songs. That's just who I am. So that's where it started to transition from I am frustrated because everyone is doing so well to good for them. Maybe we'll get a shot, maybe we won't, but this is just what I do anyway, so I'm going to keep doing it. And that's kind of where I've been lately. Just keep writing songs and keep trying to play them for anyone that will listen. And if they like it, I'm glad to hear it. And I hope we can have a beer together or something,
Yeah. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Just don't end up in prison. That probably.
Yeah.
Might get you some street cred.
Look, like I said, I tried, living that traditional lifestyle. That's not to say I'm not out there on the streets, doing anything. I try my best to just stay at home these days, because in my younger days, I was a wild man a little bit, and I think I used up all of my luck. That's what I say. I've done some things. I've used up all my luck, so I try to just stay at home and stay out of trouble. But yeah, I don't think I would last in jail. That wouldn't be for me.
Yeah, dude, I'm the same way. It's funny, like I was doing stand up, and I was like, "How do you write?" Blah blah blah, and they're like, I think I was watching Chris Rock, and he's like, "You need new material? Go to the club by yourself and become the drunkest person there."
Oh yeah,
and so I did that, and it was terrible stories. But it worked. They're like, "What? You did what?" And I'm like, "Listen, I ain't lying."
It works. It works. But man, that's such a mental game, because the older you get, the more you realize what's right and wrong, and the more you wake up with hangovers and think man, why did I do that?
Yeah.
It can get really, really taxing mentally to do that game.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm cool. I got Instacart, DoorDash. I don't have to go outside anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm cool. Yeah, I'll go to a bar for friends and music, and it's funny now. A lot of my favorite bands do stadium shows, and it's just you got to be really good for me to get around that many people.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, I'm not I was talking the other day, somebody was asking, Corey Taylor was having a show. Should I go just see Corey Taylor? I'm like, well, to me, a Slipknot show, if you don't want to be pushed around by people wearing jumpsuits, it might be good to go to that. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm not into that. And I was like, back when I was younger, it was like a badge to wear a broken nose after a show, people put other people on their backs and they're doing windmill kicks, and you're like, oh yeah, this is
you want to be in that pit, man. You want to be in that pit where it's dangerous. That's the fun part.
Yeah. Hey, where are you going? Into the wall of death.
Yeah, exactly, man. Those videos, I don't know if you've ever seen them. They were doing videos for a while, kind of like parodies. I forget what show it is, but there's a singer. He's like, all right, I want y'all to open up the pit or whatever. And they do the, where everyone separates and then they run into each other. But they started putting old country songs behind it. So it'd be Brooks and Dunn, Neon Moon or something. He's like, all right, open up the pit. And then Neon Moon would play and they just run into each other. It's so funny. It cracks me up.
Yeah. That is, yeah. Not for me. I just saw Avenged Sevenfold and I was feeling like wind on my neck. And I turned around, and there's the people running around in a circle. And I was like, oh,
I gotta
no.
get out of here. Get out of here quick. Man,
Yeah.
I've always wanted to see Avenged. I've never seen them. When I was younger, I was a real big Sinister Gates fan.
Yeah. And this is a thing I was going to ask you, but I forgot. So, Slash, all those guys, they've been playing the same song forever. Now, do you want to see the album recorded solos, or do you like to see when an artist puts something else, like just a little bit different? Because Avenge was fantastic, but they played that to like a click, which you have to doing all those things. But it was just like I wanted to hear like a couple more bars, because you could tell they're getting into it, and so was everybody else. But it was just like I wanted more from like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like more live.
I do. That's as far as that goes. I have two different opinions on. I think, and it really just depends on the artist and the show. If I go watch like the Eagles and they're playing Hotel California, like I want to hear that solo because I know that solo note for note. I mean, everyone can sing that, or like Bohemian Rhapsody or something. Most people can sing that guitar solo. It's just so iconic. But if I go watch Slash, I want to hear mostly all the same stuff. But if he does, that like minor guitar solo in Sweet Child of Mine, where it kind of breaks a little bit, I don't mind if he changes that up just a little bit. Like those are the really cool moments for me when they do the traditional melody of the song or whatever, the actual recording, and then they embellish it just one or two times during it. That's what I'm like, man, that's so cool. As far as like a full on improv solo or something like totally different, the only times I'm like really cool with that is like a Gary Clark Jr. or something, or Joe Bonamassa, like someone who's like washed in the blood and the blues. If they do something different, then I'm like, that's so rad because they're doing that different every night. Like they're just talking. And I think it's just more of a stylistic thing, like I said, when something is more popular music or rock stuff, like traditional rock stuff, our tour manager and I talk about this all the time. There's rock and roll, and like our guitar player is the rock, and I'm the end roll. Like I'm a little sloppier, a little rough around the edges. So like if you're listening to like a rock song, like what's that? Like Alter Bridge or something, that's like rock. That's like pretty modern age rock. So those solos and those sounds are going to be, I would imagine, pretty identical live. But when you're listening to rock and roll, you want it to have a little fluff around the feathers,
Yeah, it's. I always liked Eddie Van Halen, how he played Eruption live.
Yeah,
He would incorporate different things.
different things.
But
Yeah, and that's such a cool thing too, because I mean Van Halen is just that was like the guy, like that's the man. So him being able to take a song like that, where everyone knows the recorded version, and if you're listening to Eruption, you probably know every note of it. You would love it. And hearing that, but then being able to like tweak it a little bit or do little different parts, and that I think the geek in all of us comes out a little bit. I'm like, oh man, this is exactly what I wanted.
yeah, I get a lot because like sometimes my band will cover stuff, and I'll have people come up to me and they're like, "Well, that's not how the Simple Man solo goes." I'm like, "Oh, I know."
Yeah, yeah. Can you believe it?
I'll keep true to it, and I'll stay in the same key. But it's just like, let's give them something different because people will stop, and like, it's you start off playing it note for note, and then you kind of get. It's like the scene of Back to the Future where everyone stops dancing. They're just like,
yeah,
"What are you
yeah.
doing?"
I think that's where where bands have a liberty. So if that was the actual question, I might have misunderstood it. But like, if I go watch not the band, but the band that released that song, for the most part, I kind of want it to be how it was recorded, and then embellish it here or there. But if I go watch a band in a bar or go watch a band who's covering that song, I'm totally cool with them taking all the liberties, as long as it's still in the vein. I think in the vein of the song, because we've played so many 4-hour gigs, man, to where Simple Man has 6 guitar solos instead of 2. Like you just got to fill up all that time. And if people don't like the different solos, then the hell with them.
Yeah, true. Do you have like a favorite show you've done? Like one that's just makes it worth it.
We've done a few of them. We got to play in Dripping Springs at a place called Nutty Brown. It's no longer there, but we did a sold out show with Randy Rogers there, which was awesome. The Randy Rogers band. And then we've also gotten to play a place in New Braunfels called Whitewater Amphitheater. We did that with William Clark Green, and those were always like bucket list venues for us growing up as kids, anyways. But getting to do it with the people that we did them with, and getting to be around, all the fanfare and all that kind of stuff, it was truly something special. And that Whitewater Amphitheater is right on the river, so you get to, you sound check, and then as soon as you're done sound checking, you can go and jump in the river and swim and drink beers. And there's a bunch of people floating down the river that are going to come to the show later, so everyone's kind of hanging out. It's like a break the barrier moment, which is awesome. That's like one of my favorite things. I don't love like being in the thick of it where you can't even think, but when you can like go out and have conversations with everyone and kind of just talk about regular life, that's like one of my favorite things. So yeah, Whitewater Amphitheater and Nutty Brown Amphitheater for sure.
That's cool. And you'd say like being able to walk around, like it's got to be weird to get like super famous where you have to be scared of your fans because you don't know.
Yeah.
Like they might love you too much.
Yeah, we're not even like our band isn't. I don't even know if we could hold up one letter of the word famous. Like we have none of that, and some of the people that
might
come
be
out
making a Nyles hair doll.
Someone, dude, you never know, man. I don't know. That would.
I love you. They're betting it right now.
We've run into some characters for sure, but like I said, we're not even that famous, and some of the people that we run into on the road, we're like, man, that could have gotten really weird. We got kind of lucky that we got out of there. I can only imagine what it's like when you have, some of the status that some of these other artists do. I don't know if I can handle it myself. I guess you just stay in your lane, keep going, keep moving forward.
Yeah, I've only been in Texas once, but we had like a pre-party, and I was surprised that like nobody came up to the artist to say anything to him. Just everyone's just kind of like da 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 da. And if I would have walked in, I would have been like, "Oh my god, you! Oh my god,
yeah,
you!"
yeah.
Like it was so weird. I'm like, maybe this is maybe this is just normal life down here.
Yeah, there is a little bit of that cool factor, at least in the Texas stuff that we've done. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of college girls who are like, oh my god, whatever, they get crazy about it. But for the most part, like when you're backstage or when you're around some of the artists, it's almost like an unwritten rule. You just don't be the that guy kind of thing, and everyone is really respectful. And the coolest thing about it is most of these artists will talk to you, like if as long as you go up and you have the the right personality when you do it, and hey man, I really enjoyed it. 9 times out of 10 they're going to be really cool about it, because that's how we make a living. People liking the music, that keeps us busy, and that's why we have a job.
Yeah, I'm so weird. I hate taking selfies with people, but when there's alcohol involved, I'm just
Yeah.
screw it.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
I'm the same way. I don't know when the last time I took a selfie like sober was, but if you get a few beers and drinks in us, and I think it's almost to the point where we do it ironically now because we'll get so drunk and just be like, "Oh man, what's up?" or like be texting our girlfriends or our moms or whatever, and we're just like, "Oh hey," and then we'll send a selfie of, me and our bass player taking a tequila shot or whatever. But yeah, you start adding alcohol, anything can happen.
yeah, yeah. Like the first time, I I wasn't sure, but I was looking over. I'm like, that dude is somebody. And like, if your face isn't on your album cover, I don't know what you look like.
Right.
And I asked, I said, who is that dude? I said, that dude looks famous. And somebody laughed. They're like, "Oh, that's Cody Canada." And I was like, oh, really? And I'm like, man, I really want to meet him. Really want to meet him. And here, I'm talking to Shannon, his wife, and I was like, man, it'd be really cool to meet him, but he looks so busy. She goes, come on. And I was
Yeah.
like, dude,
Yeah.
it's so cool to meet you. And I was like total like fangirl moment. I was like, we gotta take something.
Yeah, their whole camp is awesome. We've done a couple shows with them. And did you get to meet Jeremy, their bass player?
I don't think I ever met anybody else in the band.
Yeah,
That's
so
weird.
Jeremy Plato, he's a killer bass player. But we did a couple shows with them, and I remember just like they get busy after shows. They have to talk to people and all that. So I think I talked to Cody for a little bit. And he was, this was one of the first shows we played with him. He went and he was talking to other people, doing the whole shaking hands and kissing babies thing, whatever it may have been. And I was sitting there talking with Jeremy. And we were like leaning up against this rail. And I forgot what we were talking about, but I remember it just being the most normal thing in the world. And I had this realization. I was like, God, dude, these guys are so cool. Like if they would have been rock and roll gods or whatever and been like, yeah, whatever, dude, like walked away or whatever, I don't think I would have been mad about it. I would have just been like, okay, that's how it is. But the fact dude, I could not tell you what we were talking about, but it had to have been like gas prices or something. Just the most mundane, normal thing. And we were sitting there talking. I was like, God, these guys are so cool. Like they're rocking on stage, they're killing it, and then they get off and there's normal people. And that was like a little earlier on in our career, but it kind of shows you the ropes as a younger artist. Like, don't be a d-bag. Treat people how you want to be treated, and just try to stay as true to yourself as you can.
Yeah, relationships. Don't
Yep.
burn a bridge.
That's what it's all built on. It's all relationships.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. I'm like, if you're having a bad day, like, if it's not written across your forehead, that first impression, like, oh, they don't know,
Yeah.
like, you had a bad, like, go in the van.
Yeah.
Go in the van, don't talk
Get
to
away.
nobody.
Go somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, take some shots, get happy, come back. But, because, like, yeah, if it only takes once.
Very true.
And
Very, very true. I think we've learned that the hard way once or twice. I'm sure.
yeah, I think everybody in music wise has. And
Yeah, it's part
I-
of it. That's how it goes.
yeah, dude, it's a weird industry. There's a lot, like, man, people can screenshot just Facebook, take something out of proportion, and just and like you have to like. There's so many angles to it now, especially like word of mouth is no longer a thing. It's like chain of evidence now, which
Yeah.
might not even correlate to what you said, or it's just it's so weird having to see that side now, because like back in the day you just heard things,
Yeah.
unless like a magazine called a snapshot, and people said this, that, and that, and you would always hear about reputations down the line. But now it's like, yeah, everyone's got a camera in their pocket. Everything you put anywhere, even from years ago, before like it's weird how like that can all come back.
That's
It's
yeah.
just-
I don't have social media for that reason. It's just like, not that I was ever. I've tried my best my whole life to just be a good person. I don't think I was ever doing anything that could get me in trouble. I'd just rather not find out. You know, I deleted all my social media and I don't even want to deal with it. And it is such a weird thing now. I mean, to the point to where if someone wants to talk to me about something, like I'll do emails and I'll do text messages if we're like negotiating prices or whatever. But if it ever starts feeling weird, I'm just like, man, call me. You know, let's just talk on the phone, because the last thing I want is to send a message or something that could be taken out of context in any way. You know, like if you say, yeah, dude, that's cool, period. Like that could just be like you saying, yeah, that's cool. But someone could screenshot that and be like, oh, what an asshole. He's being so sarcastic, you know? And it's like, no, I'm not. I'm just telling you that's cool, man. We can make this work. But yeah, the status of our world today is a little bit different than it used to be.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It is.
Especially because, like, being an entertainer, you're pretty much on contract everywhere you go.
Everywhere.
I try to let people know.
Got to keep it in between the lines. That's why anytime we go out now, or anytime I go out, I try my best to I wouldn't say not be seen. That's not the right way, but mind my P's and Q's. And once I start feeling myself getting a little under the influence, I kind of just walk away. I got to go somewhere else. Like, I don't want anyone to see me anymore.
Yeah, dude, I get it. That's why, like, it's weird because I like going to music festivals and drinking, you know. But if someone comes up, I don't want to be like, you know, marbles in my mouth. Like,
yeah, for
like,
sure, man.
Let's do an interview, and I'm like, no.
Okay. Well, I wasn't prepared for this. Yeah.
Yeah, because I get mouthy when I drink sometimes, and
Me too.
I say
Me too.
random stuff. People like,
oh man,
just go, and I'm like, oh no, I didn't mean it like that. Well, that's not how you said it. Oh, before you know it,
story of my life. That's why
say goodnight to the bad guy.
Yeah, the older I get, man, the more I've just learned it's way better to shut up. You know, I just
Yeah.
I've done so much of the talking to people and trying to develop relationships or cultivate friendships, whatever. And, you know, you say one wrong thing to someone and that's it. So I go places and I shake people's hands and I say, nice to meet you. And is there any way I can help you out? And if not, I'll see you later.
Yeah. Try to be a man of 1,000 words a year.
Exactly. That's going to be my new motto. I like that.
It's what my grandfather used to call me. And I was like, you really want to know why I don't talk to you? Because I am terrified of you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, yes, sir. And he was like,
man of
why?
1,000 words a year. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yes, pop, no, pop. No, there was, and after he was done talking, that's anything past that was talking back. So,
yeah, exactly. I
I
grew up pretty similar.
Yeah,
Pretty similar
he's
to
like,
that.
I wasn't like that. I'm like, oh, you need to have a conversation with yourself.
Yeah. Man, I gotta pee really bad. I'm down to keep going if you want to. I just gotta pee really quick if you're cool with that.
It's up to you. I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah,
man.
I'll go pee, and then I'll come right back. Like I got probably about 20 more minutes if you're cool with that. I'll go pee and then we'll keep it rolling.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, that was everything I needed. I'm great now.
Yeah, it's funny is I was doing one, I think Chris Jones from the Flycatchers, and I was like looking. I had to go to the bathroom so bad, and I was looking at my trash can like.
Same. I had a cup right here. And the only reason I didn't do it is I was like, man, maybe he'll be able to hear it. I don't know.
Hey, what is that? Nothing,
man. Nothing. I think it's probably your Wi-Fi, dude. It's nothing.
It's your Wi-Fi. It's raining and those gutters, man.
Yeah, it's Texas, man. It's all tin roofs.
Yeah, tin roofs. They got that strong stream.
That's right.
That's funny. No, normally I always say the podcast is the weakest bladder because I'll be here like But that's back when you couldn't see my face, and
Yeah.
the mic goes up. I get up, and I'm like, trying to take
Yeah.
my mind off of it, and I'm like, but now it's can't. It would have been. We would. I definitely would have been like, I wonder if I would have ignored it.
Yeah, I mean, I would have done my best to just be like under the table or something, but I don't know if I would have been able to pull it off. It's funny, man. We played the other day for like 2.5 hours. We hadn't done that in a long time. We normally do 90s or 60 minutes or 90 minutes. Every now and then we'll do like a 45 or a 30, but nothing over. I mean, the longest we'll get contracted to do is 120, like 2 hours. We did 2.5 hours the other day, and our bass player was like, "Man, I got to go to the bathroom. Like, can you do a acoustic song or something?" I was like, "Yeah." And he came up to me after. He was like, "I don't know how you do it, man. Like, normally at 90 minutes, I'm already ready to pee." And kind of what we'll do a lot is we'll do like 77 minutes, and then we'll break for an encore. If that's, if it's packed enough, there's enough people that will break for an encore. That's when everyone pees. Everyone goes out as soon as they can get to wherever they can get, real quick, just squeeze out a little 45-second pee or something. But he was like, "I don't know how you do it, man." And I was like, "I don't know how to do it either." It's whenever you're playing and you're like focused on, I got to do this, I got to do that next, or whatever it may be, you kind of forget about it. But like sitting down and talking, I've never been good at that. I have to pee every 20 minutes in the van. Like I'm notorious. Yeah, I'm notorious for just having bottles on bottles because I have to pee all the time in the van. It's terrible.
Way to the road.
Yeah, it's the way to the road, man. It really is. It really is. It's funny.
Can I get some lemonade? Sure.
Mm-hmm. Good luck. Good luck.
That's, dude. Like, I had a C. diff infection, which is like, I had to go to the bathroom all the time. Just, it was terrible. And we did like 127 shows, and I was, like, the singer knew, like, it was great because I had wireless. I would just run off the stage in the bathroom, and I could still, I had in-ears, so I could still play.
Yeah.
But like, it just got to the point where they just knew. They're like, but it is something like a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah. Were you in Nashville when you were doing that? I know you're based out of Delaware right now, right?
Yeah, we would go to Nashville. We recorded in Nashville, and we went all the way up to Maine, all over the Northeast. But yeah, it is funny. Like, we were doing our band was doing really well. Like, not a lot of people. Like, I guess probably because I don't talk about it. Like, before, like, I was just managing, which managing a band, I was able to make a lot more money on than actually playing in it.
Oh,
then the guitar player left, and they're like, "You play guitar, let's just play." And like, we got all the way. It's funny. It was a country band. We won state best new country band for the state. Then won the Northeast, like, giant stadium, and then went all the way out to Nashville for the top 300, and didn't make the top 30. So the band was on. It was on fire. It was doing. We were doing like radio interviews, and I got to knock off some. Like, I always wanted to win a battle of the bands, and we won a battle of the bands, but now it's all over like a name change. It's kind of like when people were like, "How do you feel about Mike the Moon Pies being Silverado?" I'm like, the fact that they all sat down and agreed with it, awesome, because I saw it go the other way when they're like, "I ain't playing under that name," and it's like, well, the record label says you play under this, you release it under this, they're gonna sue you. And it was like, well, that's easy. And I was just like, it's just
not get sued.
Yeah, I'm like, but
I've seen a lot of
I do and don't miss it. Like, being on the road.
I bet it's a very, very alternative lifestyle. There's a lot of it's romanticized a lot. There's a lot of people that think it's the coolest thing in the world because of what they hear about, but they really only hear the good parts or the stuff that they want to hear. And you can tell people, like I can sit here and tell you, oh yeah, we did 6 shows back to back to back, and we drove 10 hours in between each of them. And you can hear that and be like, well, that actually sounds kind of cool, man. Y'all just on the road traveling. But no matter how many times I tell you, until you've sat in a van for 10 hours, you have no idea how miserable that is.
Yeah.
To just be stuck in a death trap on wheels. And not only are you like stuck because you're waiting to get where you're going, but you're stuck because you can't even go home if you wanted to. Like now you're in it with everybody else, and everyone is taking their time off or dedicated their time to go do these things. So whether you want to be there or not, you're there. And I think, like I said, a lot of people hear the stories of, oh, well, Jim Bob got drunk at this show and then the cops almost arrested him, but they didn't. That's so cool. That sounds like so much fun. And it's funny to look back on that story or whatever it may be that all the shared experience. But like I said, until you live 10 hours in a van or eat McDonald's 3 or 4 times a day because that's all there is, or gas station burritos, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You just really don't understand it. And it's cool for the first 4 months, and then you just do it for 9 or 10 years, and it's way different. The reason we still do it till this day is because we love it so much. We've just become so adapted to that lifestyle that I think it's kind of become a part of us, which is great, but that doesn't happen overnight. Most people can't really do it the way they think they can.
Yeah, it is like the road stories are fun because we had some, I wouldn't call them crazies. They were living their rock and roll dreams. Like we all grew up hearing the stories, watching Guns N' Roses destroy the set while they're talking about Appetite for Destruction. Like I had a little bit of experience with what we used to call them whiskey demons, with band members running around. It got to the point where I was asking to pay the smoking fee up front. I can't say, like, they were like, excuse me, this is a non-smoking room. I was like, oh, I know that.
I know. Yeah.
I know. Here, I'm just saying. I don't want that. The amount of like fines and stuff that gets, I could have got a whole block of rooms for the amount. Like you're staying at like the Super 8s and all of the cheap spots because you're only going there just to sleep from after the show, and hopefully they let you a late checkout. And it's just, and it's half the time it's not your guys, it's the people that think like you're their Ozzy Osbourne. You're gonna snort ants and throw the TV out the window.
Most of the time it's the hanger-ons, like the band and crew gets kind of used to the road life, and it I wouldn't say that it loses its luster or anything, but it goes from when you're first starting this as a party to now we're at work. You're out there to do a job, you do the best of your ability. But the people that want to party with the band think that it's just a traveling circus, which it kind of is, but there's still some boundaries and some rules of the road, I guess, and those are the worst ones. The worst ones are the ones that think it's a road show and have no social awareness. And they just can come and they're like, everyone else is trying to be like, all right, dude, well, maybe chill out a little bit, and they're still pounding the bottle of Tito's. Those get old quick.
It's when I used to manage. I used to buy Smith and Wesson handcuff keys. You can buy them online. So everyone, I could just remember they were getting arrested. The bass player was like, they work! And he lifted his hands. I was like, we're kidding. This is the end. So, like,
What? They actually,
it was
you were able to buy handcuff keys that actually
you
worked?
you buy them on Amazon. You can get them in plastic so they don't go up on metal detectors, or you can get them. They make hoodies with the zipper. Yeah, we were in Nashville, and the bass player, he took his handcuffs off. And I was like, it was kind of like a joke, like.
Yeah. Well,
And when
I'm sure the cops didn't think it was a joke.
no, they ended up being pretty. I was really surprised that the Nashville police, they actually helped us get information on how to sue the motel. It was a weird night. I got
Yeah.
woken up by a
That
nightstick
sounds
across my
fun.
feet. Yeah, it was that was an interesting Nashville trip. The drummer tried throwing me off the balcony.
Good.
And
Good.
I squeezed him so hard that everything came out of him, and it was a terrible night.
Have you ever heard that song? There's a song by Jason Isbell called Super 8. Have you ever heard that song?
No, but
It's funny. He basically he talks about the whole chorus is, I don't want to die in a Super 8 motel. And it's talking about like a fight. From what I've gathered, it seems like a fight with someone's, either someone's boyfriend who came home with the band, or I don't know. But I always tell people, unfortunately, that kind of stuff follows our band around. Like, we're always dealing with some kind of chaos, And I wish we didn't, because it's fun the first 474 times you do it. And then the 475th time, it's like, man, I just want to go back home and go to sleep. Please leave us alone.
yeah. I just it like when you get to another motel, hotel, I always liked opening the door, because there's this weird how, like, sometimes they have like full kitchens and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's just weird the rates, and you'll be in the middle of nowhere, and it's just like, I guess people use these as houses. I hope that was always fun, but yeah, like you said, like some of them that they would get business cards made up. We're staying here, rooms. Like, come on, man. We're not Motley Crue.
No, far from. I don't even think. I don't know if Motley Crue's Motley Crue these days, man. Like, that's just. I do think those days still exist a little bit, certain bands, but I also think that those are kind of those tall tales too. Like, those bands were definitely partying, and I believe most of, if not all, what they were saying about the times that they lived in. But I also know that there's no longevity in that. Like, any of those bands that lived that way, they did it for a few years. Like, no band was doing that for 10 or 15 years and living to tell about it. For the most part, when you're on the road, you're just working. You're working your little ass off. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, I would like to do one run. I'm like a bus. I've never done, I've never, like, a bus with like a crew where you can just roll out, tune up, and play.
It's a game
would
changer.
be great. Yeah,
It's a game changer. I was lucky enough to I did an acoustic run that ended with a full band run with William Clark Green, and so we played 2 shows in Beaumont, Texas, and then from there we went to somewhere in Oklahoma. Maybe it was Kansas. I'm not exactly sure. What I do know is that Will's tour manager lives in San Marcos. He's one of my good buddies, the guy Austin I was telling you about. Their tour bus picked us up in San Marcos. And so I fell asleep somewhere in Austin, Texas, woke up in Fort Worth where they do the bus call, went and got dinner, got back on the bus. We went and we got Will, drove fell asleep, woke up in Beaumont. Cool. Played in Beaumont for 2 nights, left Beaumont, had a few drinks, fell asleep, woke up in Oklahoma, got off, played the show, went home. And then I had to go home in the van after that, which was terrible. But yeah, that tour bus thing is the next level. It's a game changer for sure. But it also makes so much sense. I think when I was younger, when our band was younger, we used to just think of a tour bus as a party vessel, which it does become. But when you're touring at that level with that many people and you're doing it as your full-time job, the tour bus is like your safe space. It's the home, like it's an investment for comfort, because if you can't do that kind of touring in a van, it's just not possible. There's no way.
Yeah. And that has to be awesome.
It's something that I can take that with me for a long time. I can tell people that I got to do that, it's fun. It's cool.
Yeah. Especially like William Clark Green's like one of my favorites.
He's great.
I got to see him live, and I saw his bus, and he'd hit me up before, and he was like, dude, anytime you can come to one of my shows, let me know. And I was like, no, I'll just surprise him.
Sure.
And so I saw his bus. I didn't go like knock on the bus or anything. I was just like, whatever, I'll just go to the show, and hopefully he sees me from the stage, and if he wants to hang out, we'll hang out.
Yeah.
But like, they got done playing, and they just ran off, and we were standing outside, and they're like, no, they always come out. They always come out. You just got to stay. And I'm staying, and I'm like, I don't think he's coming out.
Yeah. So you didn't get to meet him that night?
No. And then it turns out his guitar player or the drummer got sick and had to fly home. So the guitar player was playing drums. They were still great, but got like an email.
I know exactly what show you're talking about, because I remember that. Like I said, I'm good friends with their tour manager, and I remember him telling me it was like a logistical nightmare. Like, yeah, the drummer had to leave, and to the point to where the guitar player, his name is Jared. He's a great guitar player, but I guess he also plays drums. And Will had asked him, he was like, "Hey man, can you play?" And he was like, "Yeah." And they played, and it was like, "Oh yeah, he actually can play." And yeah, I heard about that show though. I didn't know you were there at that one. That's cool.
Yeah, and it was in the middle of nowhere. It was like a weird town. It's Sellersville, PA. But it was a cool venue. It was like a movie theater type thing. But yeah, they bounced, and then I got like an email like they had like, this was during like COVID, and then they had possible COVID exposure. I was like, okay, maybe it's good I didn't get in a tube.
Yeah,
and hang out.
I hope y'all get to meet one day. He's been one of the coolest people that we've met in the industry. He's been really helpful to us, like from the time that we started until now. He's always just been the guy that's like, any way I can help, man, let me know. Whatever you need, holler. And he means it. He'll follow through on that. Their whole band, their whole crew are second to none. They're great.
Yeah, he's definitely, his voice. A lot of people gave me some stuff. I was like, I consider him like my Keith Whitley. Like, I didn't grow up listening to the legends like that, and when I first heard his voice, it was like really like kind of like the first time I've like felt the pain of somebody's voice, because I'd never listened to like music like therapeutically. That was another thing.
Yeah,
of
new I think
to
that's
me.
the most important. That's the most important thing. There are a lot. We were talking earlier about talent. There's a lot of people that are really talented, or a lot of people that can do things vocally or instrumentally or whatever that a lot of other people can't. But what really, I think, sells people or makes them popular is believability. Like, you have to believe what someone's saying, or believe the song someone's singing. That's why there are certain vocalists who aren't songwriters that are so good and so famous because the songs that they sing, you believe every word of it. You know, like having that believability, and that's definitely something I think that Will excels at. All of his songs, not to mention his songwriting is great. Like his songs are so good. He has a song called "Me and Her and You" that I've argued with him about. I think it's called "Me, Her and You," or "Me and You, Her." Me, Her and You. I've argued with him a million times. I'm like, dude, that's the best song you've ever written. And he's like, nah, man, Anymore is my best song. And I'm like, nah, dude, it's Me, Her, and You. And we'll go back and forth on it. But yeah, he's just got, there's great songs, you know, and that's another testament to a guy that's been doing it for a really long time that, for what I can tell, hasn't lost any of that edge, you know, like he's still road dogging it. He's still writing songs all the time, still putting out really, really good stuff. Never phoning it in. I've never gone to one of his shows or opened up one of his shows where I was like, yeah, I know maybe they had an off night. Like he's always on it, always killing it, and it's cool to watch for someone who's a little bit younger to see it, that the longevity that he's had, the career he's had, to know he's still doing it. To think like, okay, man, you know, there is something to this. If you know, stay the course, do what you believe in. There's something. This could be, you know, something really cool.
Yeah. That could be you. Hopefully. Right?
Hopefully, man. We can only hope.
Well, the talent's there. So
I appreciate that, man. I really do. You know, with running a small business, which is essentially what we do, it gets you can get caught up a lot in numbers and or metrics, and you know, is this trending well or is that trending well, or do we have this quarter set up, you know, or that quarter set up, whatever it may be. But at the root of it, you know, we're music lovers. And so to get to talk to other people that really enjoy music and have a passion for it and get compliments like that, you know, the talent's there or whatever, it means a lot to hear that, because there's music and then there's the music business, and the music business sucks. Music is great,
yeah.
but music business sucks.
It does.
Yeah.
And it's just, and it's a lot of times it can just be like how that guy's feeling one. It's like going to a judge, and you're either going to do well or get thrown in contempt. You know.
Yep. Exactly.
Based on not what you did. It could be the guy before you just said, "I don't care," you know, didn't wear a nice suit, and it's because I've seen that with people, you know, that can actually help people and give them opportunities, and if they. It's so weird. And then like, even if they do bring you on, and they'll be like, "Oh man, that was great, but could you tone it down a little bit?" You know.
Nope.
You put that.
See you later.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've run into that. For sure.
Yeah. Hey, how about trying that on the clean channel?
Nah.
No thanks.
For the birds.
Yeah, that's when you step on your other fuzz pedal.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Let me throw on my 6th metal zone now. Now that you said that.
Metal zone. You got to have one after your sound check. You got to have that one pedal. That one pedal.
We used to do it a lot.
Eyebrows.
We try our best to be an accommodating band. I know sound guys' jobs are hard, especially in smaller clubs and stuff like that. But it never fails. There's probably 4 shows a year where you get the sound check done and everything feels right, and then you get on stage and something's changed. And you know, you try your best, like, hey, can you turn it up my monitor or whatever, blah, blah, blah. You can only do that for so long. At some point you got to hear yourself, walk back to the amp, give it the old look around, little nudge, and then that volume just goes way up. And then you're like, yeah, that's what we're trying to do this whole time, man. I was trying to work with you, but yeah, I've done. Have you seen those? This is like starting to get way off on a tangent. Have you seen those TikToks where it's like a parody of like the sound guy, the old sound guy at a bar, and he's like, "Why is every sound guy like this?" And it's some guy like wrapping cables, and he's got like a basketball in his shirt, like all fat, and he's like, "You know, I used to work for a band called Pinner Dinner or whatever," and he's like, "Why are all sound guys like that?" And I wish that it wasn't that way, but they're all like that. every venue sound guy, like house sound guy, they for some reason have that like. We had a sound guy one time tell our drummer, he was like, "Yeah, man, do you have another drum set?" And our drummer was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, your drums just sound like shit." And our drummer was like, "Dude, what?" And I told this sound guy, I was like, "Hey, man, it's not our job to make it sound good out there. Like, it's your job. Like, work with us. Tell us what to do." And yeah, it was a whole thing. But yeah, sound guys can be a pain in the butt.
let me run back out to the trailer and get my my B kit.
Yeah, my other kid. I remember, I'll never forget that. He was like, "Do you have another set?" And we were like, "What? What do you say, dude? We're on the road right now. What do you mean?"
Yeah. You don't have to have an extra drum set. That's crazy. I could see like a guitar amp if something's going crazy, or like, you know, sometimes you get that microphone with the tubes.
Yeah.
You got anything not as loud? I get that. You know, you can only put it so far away. But
Yeah, I mean, we started traveling with baffles for our amps. We're a pretty in your face like live act. And for the longest time, we would try to just stack pedals and keep the stage volume low, but it never worked. You never get the same feel. So we started traveling with baffles, and it makes so much of a difference because we also use in-ears, so we get those amps cooking, and then we'll put those baffles in front of it, and it's like you can hear it faintly off the stage, but it kills so much of the noise. And sound guys started liking us a lot better after that. After we started traveling,
yeah, it's like Joe Bonamassa just said, like there's a quiet stage, it's not a good stage, and it's like, but man, like the longevity of the thing, like your ears, they don't regrow. Your hearing doesn't come back, and it's nice to be able to walk over, especially when you have in ears, and you can be like, "Hey, man," and actually have a conversation instead of like. But those baffles, like, especially if you have them around the drum kit, I was shocked at how much you go, and I'm like, how well. I mean, you pay for them. You're like, this piece of plastic costs this much, but
we did the baffles on the drum set thing too for a while, and we probably should go back to it. Our drummer is like the heaviest handed dude I know. Like, every single snare is a rim shot kind of thing. And it's fine. Like when we play we get into festival season, it's great because you want that big sound out there on a huge stage. But then we'll go play a 150 cap room, and it's still slamming. And then when you're on ears, when your microphone's right in front of those drums, you're picking up all that cymbal noise. It can get a little rowdy for sure. But yeah, I mean, any kind of baffling can help for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Especially if you have a power batter.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's the cleanup spot for sure. Our drummer is number 4 in the lineup. There's no doubt about it.
That's funny.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, I'm looking at the time. It's been an hour and 45. I didn't want to.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, man.
I didn't want to hold you up.
No. Yeah, I think if I'm understanding correctly, they're signaling me that they're about to start dinner. So I got to go out there and help them with the grilling.
That's cool. Dude, great talk. It was really
man,
cool.
I had a blast.
Yeah, and I'm definitely, anytime you want me to check out something new, or just let me know. And is there anything you want to promote right now, or in shows, music?
Man, we'll be releasing over the next couple months some live acoustic videos that we've done. They're from our favorite bar in San Marcos. It's a place called Chances Are. So we're planning on releasing those, and then we'll probably put them on Spotify as a 3-song EP. It'll be called Take Your Chances, I think. And other than that, go stream our album. We got an album called The Highway and the Boulevard that's out. And then come see us live anytime we're in your area. It's called Shaker Hymns, shakerhymns.com. I always tell people it's shaker like a salt shaker and hymns like a church hymn. So you can find us there.
There we go.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, Nyles. It was great talking to you.
Thanks again. It was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, anytime you want to do it again, just let me know.
Yes, sir. We'll see you.
All right, man. Yep. Have a good dinner.
You too.
Thanks, bud.